Gotta stay healthy, kids. I'll be right with you. Hello and welcome to the Bearded Horror Review. My name is Dan, aka the Boogey Man, and on this show, I will watch a horror movie, either a classic or a new release, talk about some good points, talk about some bad points, if there are any of either, give it a rating out of 10 if I remember to do it, and let me know if I think the film's worth a watch or not, in my humble opinion. And today, I'm going to be talking about the brand new Zach Krieger film, Weapons. So let's talk about it.
Are you watching?
So, Zach Krieger is the writer-director of Barbarian, also one of the group whitest kids you know, which always surprises me when I see these films. And his new film, Weapons, is about a town in America where one night 17 children from one class go missing, and we don't know what happened. They just kind of got out of bed and left one day, and our cast are trying to figure out what happened whilst also going through a lot of, emotions and blaming. And there's a lot of, what's the word I'm looking for? Tension in the town and blame throwing. And that's basically the advertisements of this film.
We're talking about 17 kids in one classroom. I want to know what happened in that classroom. Why just her classroom? Why only her?
And so before we carry on, it literally came out, I think it was last night. I saw it today at 11:20. So if you don't want to know anything about this movie at all, here's a minor spoiler warning because I'm going to be talking about it. I'm not going to give anything away, but I'm going to be discussing it. So if you don't want to know anything at all, here's your minor spoiler warning. Go watch the film, come back, watch the review, or watch the review and see if you want to see it or not. Those are your two options. So, Weapons. Like I said, it's a Zach Krieger film. Like I said, he made Barbarian, which I have done a review of, which is on my Patreon by the time that this has been loaded up. And he makes these kind of more small town, supernatural almost horror films. This film has been highly advertised by Warner Brothers. I think they know they've got a good film on their hands, so they are just bombarding every avenue they can do. YouTube, like the trailers before movies, TikToks and Instagram Reels. It's just everywhere. It's been non-stop. I even messaged the Weapons page directly going, can you just stop posting so much? You're giving the movie away. Well, that's me. I'm pretty pedantic. And autumn was supposed to be kicking in, which is why, I was happy, but now it's getting hot again for some reason over here in England, so I'm wearing a vest again, because I'm about to go to the gym as well, so you have to look at these. So this film, like I said, they're, even though they're advertising a lot, I've only seen one trailer. It doesn't really give much away. These kids go missing and no one knows why. And in all honesty, the mystery, to me personally, was better than the reveal. And that is not because it is a bad film. I'm going to say this right now, it's a good film. You should go and see Weapons. If you liked Barbarian especially, which I had my own personal issues with, but I can't fault it as a film, but there's other stuff that I talked about in my Patreon review. It suffers from a few things, this film. It does suffer. And there's a few things that I picked out specifically for Zach Krieger, and then there's just things in general when it comes to filmmaking that I found to be an issue. However, like I said, this is a good film. Emphasis on the word good. One thing I will say about this film, some positives. It is very well directed. Some of the acting in this is fantastic. The idea is kind of original and it's done very well. This idea of, it's a mystery almost. All these kids went missing. Why is that? And I wanted to, this is the minor spoiler thing, I wanted to talk about why it's called Weapons, in my opinion. Everybody in this film is using either manipulation, something that's very poignant to, I'm sorry to say this, America at the moment, which is scaremongering and blame throwing.
Very sorry, I am from...
She should be locked up until she tells us what happened.
And there's either using words, manipulation, coercion, physical threats as weapons. And that's what this film feels like it is doing. It is showing all these different kinds of weapons that people have. And I thought it was a very, very good idea. And it is done very well. There's a very big range of, this kind of weapon, as I would call it, And I really think it suits the film very well. It adds that extra spin on this very strange thriller. And like I said, some of the acting is fantastic. There are some moments in this where I felt the acting did slip a little bit. For the most part, everything is done really well. They said it's wonderfully directed. He's got a great eye. Zach Krieger, as a director, really good director. I'm going to say this. There's some really clever shots in this, some really good out of the box thinking to make the scenes more interesting and to add suspense and to add tension. But this is where I will have my own personal downside to this film. This film is not told in a linear fashion. If you've seen any Quentin Tarantino film, yes, I'm saying Quentin Tarantino. I'm not comparing Zach Krieger to Quentin Tarantino, but Quentin Tarantino does a chapter basis storytelling a lot, where he will tell a chunk of a story and then he will go to another chapter of a part of the story, and then so on. It's like segments, and then eventually they'll kind of come together. And Zach Krieger used to be a sketch comedian. Like I said, he was in The Whitest Kids You Know. And I said this in my Barbarian review. It's very obvious to me that he's used to writing shorter segments. And even though this story as a whole is very cohesive once you get to the end, I found, like in Barbarian, like I said, there's a full review there, that there's a section here, there's a section here, and there's a section here. And in this film, it does that. And I think it's to its detriment, because the segments that we have, if this was a linear storytelling and it focused on one person, we wouldn't have as much stop, start. And I felt, for me personally, that the rise of tension was undermined by this stop-starting technique. Now, some of it works. Some of it works when it's telling the story. It's telling the story of different people in the town. It's not advertised like this. It's advertised as the woman from Wolfman is the main character. She's one of the main characters. There's a few. And it kind of jumps from person to person, showing their perspective on things and showing what they were up to during this time period, which is fine. But if you keep showing the same moment from different perspectives, it gets a bit tedious. And for me, this being an over 2-hour movie, it got tedious. And it does a few faux pas for myself, which is explaining what's happening with a voiceover. You could have just sold it to us with the visuals, and you could have just, had the characters experiencing it as it happened. But they don't do that. There's voiceover in this, which I felt could have been done better. And much like other films I have discussed in the past, when I talk about payoff, there is some great setup in this, some great setup and visual storytelling. Again, Zach Krieger's really good at that. He's really good at making sure that you see all these things and that they're gonna come back later. Chekhov's gun. He's good at that. He's really good at that. But then the ending is just, sorry for the loud clap, but it's really abrupt. It builds and it builds and it builds, and then the ending happens. It's really abrupt. And it felt rushed. In a 2+2-hour movie, you couldn't create that ending to feel longer and more climactic. And I found that quite disappointing. And one of the frustrating parts for me was I guessed what was going on pretty early. I'd say after about 40 minutes, I'd gotten the gist of what was going on. Not everything, obviously, but I got the overall idea, because this film flat out says it, and you don't know that it flat out says it. It tells you what is happening. And overall, it was good. But like I said, the structure of it is not going to be for everyone. The pacing needed tightening up. It felt like it repeated itself a lot. It felt like it showed us things like, oh, here's a bit, and then it's calmed down. Oh, isn't it? It was like edging. It was like edging, and then it kind of fluffed out at the end a little bit. And when I talk about his sketch comedy career as well, moments in this, which I think were meant to be a bit more serious, came across as a bit campy. Maybe they were supposed to be campy, but even then, if they were supposed to be campy, they didn't fit because the rest of the film was so serious. And I think there's definitely a bit of a mixed tone in here, but it's not the worst in the world. It is enjoyable. I did enjoy this film a lot. However, I genuinely felt that it could have been tighter, and that narrative jumping around structure works to a point, but it led to some anticlimaxes, which led to frustration. But yeah, I did enjoy this. I mean, like I said, if you enjoyed Barbarian and if you enjoy other films like this, you will enjoy this film. I think for me personally, I couldn't decide between a 6 and a 7. So it's a 6.5 out of 10. I know some people are giving it a lot higher score, but I think thematically for me, it just didn't quite meld. And like I said, there's lots more reasons why, but I don't want to spoil anything for you guys. But that's my kind of take on it. There was a lot of things that I would have done differently with the structure and the pacing. But yeah, what do you guys think of it? Have you seen it, or do you want to go and see it? Let me know down in the comments below. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Follow me over on social media. I'm on Instagram and TikTok. And like I said, I'm setting up my Patreon now. It's going to be really cheap and it really helps me continue to be able to do these reviews. I'm going to start posting on it a lot more because, you know, I want to be able to continue this, but I also need to keep the lights on. But that's it for me, guys. Until the next time, happy watching.